Welcome back. You're still watching News Hub this beautiful Thursday morning, and rainy too, might I add. So let's get straight to the conversation. The presidency has ordered a 30-day probe, courtesy of the ICPC, into the fictitious government agency, talking about the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, PFIPC, which has gotten many talking and asking questions as to whether or not you, who is the accused, can launch an investigation into your own affairs or into what you are being accused of. That's exactly where we are at this point in time. Now, take note, this PFIPC has no legal, constitutional, or executive foundation, yet, for some reason, it successfully secured office in the Federal Secretariat complex in Abuja, as well as having bank accounts with the CBN, and the shocker had about 1.3 billion naira accounted for in the 2026 Appropriation Act. These and more we will be talking about this morning on the program for the last stretch of News Hub this morning. We're being joined by our guest, Mr. Adedeji Doherty, the PDP National Vice Chairman, Southwest. Good morning, Mr. Doherty. Are you with us?
Good morning.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Wale. Good morning.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Victor.
Yes. Thank you for joining us once again, Mr. Doherty. Now let's get straight to the conversation and get your thoughts on what's going on. I imagine you have a lot to say, seeing as, you've been following the conversation. But the first question I'm going to start with this morning, Mr. Doherty, is what the presidency is doing vis-a-vis this probe. So they say that the so-called quote-unquote con artist, who is the person of interest here, Mr. Prince Adeyemi, is responsible for what's going on. But the question many are still asking is how a line item managed to make it into the national budget. What are your thoughts?
Well, thank you very much for having me this morning. This is a very sticky subject, and I wish you didn't you didn't bring this up. But however, what is very clear, definitely, is that there is a breach somewhere. Okay. Now, from what I have followed, it is in two parts. This agency was set up to be approved by the Buhari administration. Now, the Buhari administration had gone through, put everything rolling to make this, to secure this agency. And unfortunately for them, by omission or commission, this did not get completed, constitutionally. Now, from what I kind of picked from Adeyemi himself and his interview with the very dark man, his personal interviews and things like that, you will notice that at one particular time, he has already been, he admitted that he had been invited by the police, because of a petition that was sent to him by the police, which originated from the office of the secretary, of the secretary to the president, which is Gbajabiamila's office. So there has already been a correspondence whereby Gbajabiamila himself had his office, maybe not him, but maybe his office had noticed that this agency hadn't completed its constitutional requirements, and somebody had already been assigned to that office. So what he did, or what his office did, which Adeyemi himself said on that interview with Very Dark Man, because that interview is very important in whatever we're discussing now. He said that he was invited based on a petition concerning his agency. You understand? And I think as time goes on, there are more things that are coming into play that showed that there was a breach somewhere whereby maybe the constitutional requirements of the agency was supposed to be fast tracked and it wasn't fast tracked. And this new administration came in, and this new administration probably didn't know that it hadn't constitutionally been put together, and later on found out, and then they were backstepping. There's still a lot to be known about this. It's
Okay.
quite unfortunate that this has happened, but a lot of people are looking at it as fraud. They're looking at it
All right.
as
Mr.
different
Doherty.
things, but
Yes, Mr. Doherty, there's a lot of people, or there are lots of people implicated in this. There's, of course, the executive, where you have the chief of staff, where you have the secretary to the federation, where you have, on the other side, by the way, where you have the CBN, you have the accountant, the office of the accountant general. Then you also have the National Assembly that legislates on the appropriation. Now, what we are hearing is that the Senate has blocked a probe, as it were, that they're supposed to conduct. But the House of Reps seem to be keen on going in that direction. Does this worry you in any way, shape, or form? Because if it didn't go through the National Assembly, I imagine it would not have made its way into the Appropriation Act. What do you make of this?
Well, I agree with you 100%. However, government is a continuum. You understand? Whatever mess that the Buhari administration must have created will definitely be inherited by the Bola Tinubu administration. Unfortunately, like I say, and I'll use that word, unfortunately, this is a good democratic this is a democratic system that we are practicing, and any stone that can be unturned by the opposition or anyone will definitely will be, which is right, which is constitutional also, which is something that if you are running or if you are ruling, you must be ready for. So, definitely there has been a breach, definitely there has been inconsistency, definitely something major was wrong. However, what I can see from what the little pieces that we as laymen who are not in the field with them, can see and hear is a situation whereby, being an administrator myself and having run an organization myself, I can easily try to put together that they tried to fast track. Someone tried to fast track that agency. However, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration did not go as fast as they wanted it to go, and it just got caught up in the whole process. And the president probably decided not to open that ministry or that agency, or he hasn't really gotten to it because probably he's doing quite a lot of other things. And somebody just latched onto it and found it out and definitely exposed it, But the most important thing is this: the chief of staff's office, confirmed by Adeyemi himself in 2000, I think sometime last year, was petitioned on this agency. So the chief of staff's office, which a lot of people, had doubts on, okay, had already petitioned the police concerning this agency. And I think that's the most important thing that I could take out of this, that exonerates the chief of staff.
Yes.
To a certain extent.
Yes.
To a certain extent, yeah.
Yes, it's very important, but I want us to look at it this way. You politicians, it's a normal thing. This is an example of budget padding. You and I know, we've heard of budget padding in this country. How the executive branch of government will submit XYZ amount, but before it leaves the National Assembly, the XYZ amount will be increased. It's never decreased. So this is budget padding. And come on, it didn't start in the days of the APC. The PDP also have some blame because they laid the foundation, the template for what is playing out in Nigeria was laid by your party, the PDP. Where do you stand on this?
Well, you see, you are journalists, and definitely you would definitely like news. Bad news travels fast, and it also sells your station. So I am not surprised that you say you politicians and you this and you that. It's natural. We have to take it, and that's why we're politicians, number one. That's
Yes.
why we are in a democracy, number
Yes.
two. And that's why you can't get into politics and say you won't see things like this. But I will tell you, let me give an example of even Silverboard. I was supposed to have an interview with you or one of your men some time ago, and he couldn't get fuel for the vehicle he was supposed to use, to drive down to my office. And somehow, he said he was going to try and get that, well, okay, and that he will get reimbursed later. That is what government is all about. You understand? If you say that you should always, even as a chairman of a company, if you say that you should always follow the norm and follow the rules in a company, sometimes you will lose serious money. So I will look at it like this, and I have told you, it is something, there was a breach. Now, whether a legal breach or illegal breach, that's for the constitutional lawyers to decide. However, there was a breach in a sense that this agency had already gotten to an advanced stage of operations without the constitutional backing. That is certain. Now, the most important thing, so that we can move on as a country, is that this focus was on the chief of staff. However, Adeyemi himself, in the interview, you understand, with the very dark man, said that last year, the office of the chief of staff petitioned him to the police. That exonerates the chief of staff. Now, that does not exonerate the wrong or the breach that must have happened. The other thing is that that agency was created. Who created? Was created during the Buhari administration, and government is a continuum. You understand? So where a lot of people try to play politics with these kind of things, even knowing that they do it even within their home, they do it within their offices, they do it within, and then they try to use it as blackmail on anyone. Let us be a bit godly and let us be a bit resilient here. You understand? The Adeyemi himself, who more or less started blowing this whistle beyond the shores of Nigeria, has come out himself because very dark man asked him some major questions. And I like the questions he asked him. You understand? And he answered it truthfully. You understand? So definitely, Adeyemi also said again that he was taken out after that petition, and another person was replaced. You understand? During that towards the end of Buhari's regime. You understand? So, there's a little bit of gaps in there. However, I believe that this is...
Adeyemi met with the chairman of the EFCC. Adeyemi met with Benjamin Kalu, a lawmaker. Adeyemi also had correspondence between the National Assembly and some diplomats. And now that Adeyemi case is on the front burner, these people, one of them, I think Benjamin Kalu said he was deceived with the fake letter from Adeyemi. And again, Adeyemi's office had approval for 300 staff from the president. He made a public announcement. He did an advert. He organized event. He did an advert but nobody realized that it was fake until now. So what does that say about the due check between the government agency? That's number one. Number two, the president order proof for 30 days, and the Gbajabiamila with the chief of staff is the center figure of this allegation, whether right or wrong. How do you think it's still proper for Gbajabiamila to maintain that seat as the chief of staff? And again, it's going to even be one of the members of the police reform committee set up by the federal government. So with him still holding this sensitive position, do you see anything coming out of the probe?
Well, I will put it like this, right? Like I said, number one is that there has been a petition that came out of the Chief of Staff's office concerning this matter. That is enough. He has removed his hands and sent it to the police. And Very Dark Man asked from Adeyemi, he said, who was the IG of police at that time? It was Egbetukun. He answered. He said it was Egbetukun. Now, if you want to be complicit, okay, or you're looking for some kind of complicity with Gbajabiamila, once Gbajabiamila had transferred it from his office to the police, it's the police to conduct the investigation and come out with the report. I think as Nigerians, democratic Nigerians, let us wait. The police is where we should focus on. The IGP, Disu, should open that file. And they don't even need to have waited for the president to say that. The police should have come up to say they are on top of this matter. That's what I think. They should have said that they are on top of this matter. They have taken charge. They have probably sealed off the agency. They have taken this position. They've taken that position. Because I don't know why the chief of staff would have handed over a petition to the IGP at that time, and there isn't investigations that have continued or gone on, there haven't things that had taken place after. So I agree with you. It is confusing. That's number one. It is unimaginable. Number two, it is something that definitely in the public space, you have already, because of the barrage of information that has come in, you will probably look at Gbajabiamila as the devil, and as the devil in this matter. But that release of that interview by Adeyemi and Very Dark Man, and the questions that Very Dark Man asked him, he already exonerates the chief of staff. He cannot be the police. He cannot be the investigator. He cannot be the anything, because he is the initiator of the petition. So if you are the initiator of the petition, why step aside? You're not part of the investigation, because you are the one that's petitioning. He is the petitioner. So, telling him to step aside definitely will not be fair on his part. That's my take.
Now, Mr. Doughty, a spokesperson of the Senate said that it is not their responsibility to run background checks, on entries into the budget, as he were. A claim which many say completely throws away their constitutional responsibility of fiscal oversight. So if they're saying this now, essentially what it means to many, or how it will be interpreted, is that they're trying to, play the ostrich, as the case may be. Do you agree with this excuse?
Well, I agree, somewhat with this excuse, because there are thousands of, there are quite a lot of agencies in at the federal level. You understand? If you
but Mr. Doughty, please don't forget that they have a constitutional responsibility for oversight.
No, I think the responsibility of checking is in the office of the Secretary to the Federation. You understand? If the Secretary of the Federation is able to allow, you understand, some things to pass his table, then definitely he has. You see, let me say something, right? When you are talking about the federal level, right, there are a lot of steps towards getting this thing. A lot of things, a lot of information, you understand, are confidential. If you walk into any department, any agency, a lot of things are confidential. And the confidentiality of it is not going to allow, except people like you, journalists, because of the freedom this freedom bill that we have concerning information, at government levels. You understand? It's for you to really go for investigative journalism in this case. It's not going to be fair for both of us to be on TV in the public space and try and paint this left, paint this black, paint this white, because we haven't conducted the forensic journalistic investigation in the matter. I am sure, I can tell you, I am sure once you look and you investigate and they open the books and everything to you, you will see what you are looking for in there. Definitely, like I said at the beginning, there has been a breach. Now, was that breach with a criminal intent or a breach with an intent to fast track the investment drive that the Buhari administration was trying to focus on at that time? If you look at it, and with Adeyemi's talk and the things he has done,
all right,
you understand? The guy, I was surprised.
All right, Mr. Doherty, we have run out of time. The questions still abound, and we're hoping for answers, whether or not it's an outside job or an inside job that borders on racketeering, as some opposition figures like your party have alleged, that goes all the way to the top. But we'll see how that turns out. Thank you very much, Mr.
They don't need to racketa. They don't need that.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Doherty. Mr. Doherty, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking with you today. Mr. Doherty is the PDP National Vice Chairman, Southwest. Mr. Adedeji Doherty, once again, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you very much.
Right, that's our package this morning on News Hub. It's been quite the day, I must say. Gentlemen, this is where we pull the curtains on the program. I'm David Chiedu.
I'm Wale Pusari.
And I'm Victor Ita.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Up next is What's Hot. Good morning.